On March 15, 270, in the coastal city of Patara of Lycia in what is now modern-day Turkey, Joanna had a small infant bundled in white linen against her body, and she let the tears stream down her pretty face. Her proud husband stood beside her, observing the two most important people in his life with wonder. The devout Christian parents had prayed fervently for this miracle for so many years, but had eventually resigned themselves to the fact that they were not able to have children of their own. So they had given away possessions and money to those less fortunate in an attempt to keep their own hearts soft in the midst of the crushing disappointment, while serving their community in a practical way. Now, as Joanna embraced her son, she whispered prayers of thanks to God for hearing her and her husband's Epiphanius' petitions, vowing to dedicate the little boy to God in gratitude of his faithfulness in giving the two wealthy parents the only real desire of their hearts, their perfect, peacefully sleeping baby boy. He would be named Nicholas after his uncle, the Bishop of Myra of Lycia, they decided. And as the boy grew, he was trained in the spiritual convictions of his parents and uncle, embracing them himself and spending time often in fasting and prayer to seek guidance from God in his life. His family was one of prominence and wealth in the important port town where the Apostle Paul had changed ships while being transported from Caesarea to Rome in preparation for his trial. And the young Nicholas spent his carefree youth along the coast in the relative safety and prosperity of a Greek-speaking Roman province. His kindness, purity, and wisdom were so obvious to those who knew him that he was much admired throughout the area and well known to all, even as a young man. So it came as no surprise to anyone that once he was grown, he was ordained as a priest by his uncle into the church. It was generally agreed upon that no calling had better suited anyone than Nicholas's. When his beloved parents died during an epidemic, leaving him the sole heir of their vast fortune and properties, the grief-stricken priest vowed to continue, as they always had, in seeing to the needs of those less fortunate. It came to his attention one day that a well-known Christian man with whom he was acquainted had fell into desperate circumstances, having lost his wealth due to the plotting and envy of Satan, according to the writings of Michael the Archimandrite in his book The Life of St. Nicholas, written in the 800s. The unfortunate man was now avoided by his so-called friends and mocked constantly, having fallen from grace once his wealth was gone. This man was in so much trouble that his 3 beautiful daughters were on the verge of being sold to keep food on the table. In the tradition of the early Christian church, women were both revered and well treated, often holding positions of importance in the culture and church, and Nicholas could not abide the thought of the innocent young girls' distress or the reality of their probable harsh future. It was simply an untenable situation. So the motivated priest placed some gold coins into a small bag and under the cover of darkness made his way to the house of the poor man and his daughters. Quickly throwing the bag into an open window, he hurried off into the night unobserved. As a man of deep faith, Nicholas ascribed to the principle to not give for recognition of people, but rather to do his deeds of charity in anonymity, so that he would please God with his actions and not lose his reward in heaven in exchange for the approval of men. He was also a man sensitive to others. He didn't want the faithful father, already tormented by his family situation, to have his dignity stripped from him for needing help. The father in question awoke in the morning to find a sack of gold resting near his hearth, and immediately he began to praise God for the appearance of the prayed-for provision. He also swiftly engaged his eldest daughter to a good man, using the coins in large part as a dowry. Nicholas, hearing the good news of the girl's betrothal, and that her father had used his gift wisely, put together another bag with more coins in it for the second daughter's benefit, and once again delivered the bag through the open window, moving quickly enough into the darkness to avoid the view of the waiting father, who had hoped his benefactor might return so that he could thank him. With the second girl's future secured, Nicholas determined to return one last time with a bag of gold for the remaining child. But this time, the father was on his toes. He sat expectantly near the fire, and the moment the bag flew through the window, he ran outside and down the road after the fleeing philanthropist. Upon catching up with the shadowy figure, he was surprised to find the priest he knew well, and he thanked him profusely for his kindness. The uncomfortable priest shifted the full sack he had slung over his back as the man gushed over his saintly behavior, and reminded his grateful acquaintance that he wished to remain anonymous for his night's deeds. The red robes that encased the tall, slim figure did not keep the chilly night air from nipping at his features and flushing his cheeks. And the grateful man stared at the face of his rescuer, feeling a strange peace come over him in his presence. Once the man returned home, Nicholas carried on with his nighttime exploits, helping other families and individuals who had found themselves in desperate straits, paying off debts, feeding the hungry, clothing those who could not afford to do so for themselves. He found great satisfaction in distributing his family's wealth, as God prompted him to do so, and this he did throughout his entire life. Rumors began swirling madly about him as recipients of his kindness refused to keep it to themselves, often elaborating on the stories in their gratitude. The 151st attendee of the First Nicene Council in 325 AD traveled to the Holy Land to walk in the footsteps of Jesus, and performed so many miracles that he was referred to as Saint Nicholas, or Nicholas the Wonder Worker, in his own lifetime, rather than plain old Nicholas of Bari. Upon his return to Myra after his travels, he went to pray in the cathedral there and found himself being appointed bishop to the recently bishopless church by the enthusiastic church leaders, who had been praying for guidance in their choice. It was said that anyone could approach Saint Nicholas, as he was gentle and receptive towards all, despite their past or current circumstances, and that he displayed an uncommon sympathy for the individuals in all walks of life. After his death on December 6, 343, his legend continued to spread across Europe, with stories becoming mixed with other acclaimed figures of history at the time. He became the patron saint of sailors, for calming the sea with his prayers on more than one occasion when a storm had threatened the ship he was traveling on. He was also claimed as the patron saint of merchants, archers, repentant thieves, children, brewers, pawnbrokers, the unmarried. It actually might be simpler to name those he isn't the patron saint of, if we can find anyone. The date of his death became a day to remember and celebrate the saintly man adored by everyone, with hymns composed on his behalf and traditions established around his worst-kept secret of gift-giving, prompting people to put out stockings or shoes by their hearth on the eve of the 6th to be filled with coins or small gifts. Saint Nicholas is still honored by the Lutheran churches, as well as the Church of England and the Episcopal Church, each December 6th. But the rest of the world remembers him as well, when they celebrate Christmas and the everyday kindness of a priest who was the genesis of the legend of Santa Claus. Thank you for watching today's video, and we hope you'll come back tomorrow for day 12 of our Christmas countdown. If you've enjoyed our video, we hope you'll take a minute, click the like button, comment, or even share it with your friends and family, as you help us continue to grow. Merry Christmas, and we'll see you next time.